Now let me talk about Magnum XL-200 at Cedar Point. This is the first hypercoaster to be ever built in the world, and it is one of the most controversial coasters inside the community. Some people say this ride is absolutely brilliant and it's top 3 at the park, and others say this is one of, if not the worst coaster that they've experienced. And let me just tell you, this coaster is rough. It is not a smooth coaster at all. Don't go in expecting anything smooth. This coaster is pretty freaking brutal because of how fast and how tall it is and how abrasive these restraints are. Like, seriously, these restraints suck. They are garbage restraints. And what you have to do in order to not get stapled and just not have incredible thigh pain is, if you want to put your hands up, just tighten up the seatbelt as much as you possibly can so your thighs don't hit these restraints. But what you kind of have to do is you kind of have to hold up the restraint. And if you want room, scoot forward in your seat when they're coming around. Make sure you hold up the restraint during the ride, which kind of sucks. It limits the freedom you get. That's what you have to do to not go through thigh crush. But seriously, this coaster is rough. It's jerky, but I absolutely freaking love it. This coaster is so much fun. I don't know what it is about this ride. This ride is just a classic. And if it weren't for this coaster, we probably would not be anywhere near as developed as we are today in the coaster industry. Like, seriously, this coaster was so crucial. If this thing is just so legendary. It is a huge landmark roller coaster. And it is rough. Considering that it's almost over 30 years old, this coaster is pretty rough. But for its time, this was definitely one of the best in the world at its time. But I'm going to go through the full layout right now. So you make a dip out of the station, right-hand turn, head up your lift hill, and you go down your drop, which your drop is pretty shaky. It's shaped pretty weird, not a whole lot of airtime on that. Bottom of the drop is really shaky. I think I just said that. Then you hit this first airtime hill. You don't really get a lot of airtime. Then you hit another airtime hill. Again, not an incredible amount of airtime. Then you hit the trim brakes. Now, this is pretty much the turning point of the ride, literally, because seriously, if these trim brakes are off, you are in for a buck wild second half. Unfortunately, I never rode this with trims off. The trims have always been on, and these things suck. They slow you down at least a good 10 or 15 miles per hour. It really, really just sucks how much you slow down on these trim brakes. And you go through the turnaround, and the banking's all weird, and it's all rattly, and it's rough, it's jerky. The banking is so weird, which the first half on this coaster is not good at all. It's nothing special at all. But then you hit the second half, and this is where the craziness begins. It is back to back to back to back eject your airtime hills. All of these coasters give some surprisingly intense and crazy eject your airtime. And if you're holding up your restraint, you are just going to go flying. And as long as you don't feel any thigh crush, you are just going to have a blast on the second half. And everything's all jerky, and there's just not a lot of restraint room if you're not holding up your restraint. And the hills are just shaped really weird. They're like perfect triangles. It's like hitting the ground. It's like literally like falling off a trampoline and hitting the ground every time you get close to the ground on these airtime hills. It is really, really fun though. But seriously, the airtime on this return trip is crazy. Especially, I believe it's the last hill before the final tunnel. That is the most surprising moment on the ride. That is one of the most surprising coaster moments I've had ever. Like, seriously, the airtime on that was relentless. It was nuts. And then you hit the final brake run and you kind of meander. Then you hit the actual final brake run. But this coaster, in my opinion, is so special. It is such a fun ride. If you don't mind rough rides and you don't mind just a tad bit of pain, as long as you ride this coaster right, you ride in the third to last or second to last seat, which I don't really know which one's the best because I rode both twice and I don't really truly know. This coaster is seriously a ton of fun, and I personally love it. You may not love it, but if you don't mind rough rides, you're going to like this coaster. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for its final score. It is not a bad ride at all. I personally, truly, really, really enjoy this roller coaster. If I can make it better, just not as rough, and then turn those trims off, and you have a 10 out of 10 ride, because seriously, that airtime at the end is not a joke. So let me know your thoughts on Magnum XL-200. I know a lot of people who don't like it, but I know a lot of people who do love it. So I'm still kind of in the middle. I don't really think it's top 5 at the point or anything, but it's not any lower than like 7 or 8 at the park. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to drop a like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more content. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Oh, and by the way, shout out to Micah from Coaster Frenzy. I never thanked him for making this outro, so thank you so much, Micah. But anyways, until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace out.